California's egg law for animal welfare significantly raised the price of eggs. Ideally, we'd have welfare laws and social safety nets to prevent hunger. But the fact is, we have the former making hunger worse without the latter. Is that moral? Okay, I honestly don't know.
Well, I'm going to sound like a broken record because this is the third time that I say this. When people are hungry, it is because they are poor. People are poor because they don't earn sufficient income. There's a statistic that is often cited as something that this country ought to be proud of, and it is the statistic that, and the way that it is phrased is very important because it is sleight of hand. The statistic is that Americans on average spend 8% of their disposable income on food, meaning that this makes it one of the most affordable food supplies in the world. So remember, this is a shell game, but what I want to say about this specific statistic is that that is not a statistic that we ought to be proud of. It should be a national shame that we're only willing to pay about 8% of our disposable income for food and expect all of the things that we depend of laborers and farmers. Farmers are a very important part of this equation. They don't have it in their economy to do better by laborers because we also don't value what they do. And beyond paying them for the dry matter that they produce, everything else that we expect them to do, say for environmental benefits and for social justice, we expect them to be altruist about that. We only pay them for one thing, so that's what they optimize. They do the rational thing. And so both of those folks are seen as inputs whose labor, whose skills, whose management are to be minimized. And the way that this can be fixed is in looking at the big picture. I know I keep coming back to that theme. It is not that in agriculture what we're pushing is optimal efficiency so that then we can have the most affordable food supply at the end. We're supporting a wealth transfer and a wealth concentration. One of the wealthiest families in the United States is the Walton family, who's gotten phenomenally rich since their business moved into the food sector. Mm-hmm. Now, what is happening with this money is that it is being concentrated when a small proportion of the billions that are accumulating in a family could be applied for fair wages and for the kinds of benefits that all of us expect in our places of work, where this billionaire family would not even feel it. You know, after your first or second billion, the joke goes, you know, what more do you need? So that's the key thing right there. It isn't, I appreciate the apparent conundrum there, but isn't that there's not enough money in the system, it's that it's being concentrated, and as we've all emphasized here, it is not accurately reflecting the value of all of the different components.
So you're saying we could have both. We could have the eggs, and if people were paid a decent wage.
And it begins with that people need to be paid.
And I think there is a model for that. So there is corporate social responsibility, and there is that model within agriculture. So for example, there is a initiative called the Equitable Food Initiative. Farm-Worker Justice co-founded this, and basically it's a worker-centered corporate social responsibility model in agriculture. And what it does is it is worker-centered. So workers are in committees. They have say over wages. It basically ensures that the food that is supplied by these farms are supplied in a way where the labor is fairly paid and that they work in conditions that are safe. And that also goes to the global supply chain, and it's a win-win situation. Actually, I will say win-win-win situation, because it's a win situation for consumers. It's a win situation for the for those who are buying the groceries, the Walmarts, the Costco's, whomever. It also is a win for the farmer, for the grower. It's also a win for the workers. So there are models out there, and there should be more models of corporate social responsibility that really includes the worker at the center of its model.
Yeah. But I mean, to take this question further, it's a great question. I mean, Liz, these are all obviously great solutions that would take time or, structural change. You're dealing with people who want to buy eggs like every day, right? I mean, so what is your take on this issue or this question or, issue of affordability, really?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely the piece about SNAP being able to provide people with the option on what to buy, right? And then there is the food pantries where they distribute what they have on hand. So there's that, but I mean it's not an easy fix. I brought some information about the people that we're serving. 65% of the food bank clients are earning less than $28,000 a year. That's, and a lot of the people, 25% of the people that are applying for CalFresh or SNAP are actually working. They're just not making enough to make ends meet. They're not getting enough work hours to be able to pay rent, to buy food, to provide clothing for their children. So definitely the issue of wages is an important topic. And
well, and what if I can just add, what I know about Liz's Food Bank is they're one of the leaders in the country that to seam together the issues not just of wages but of food justice. And just the other day I saw leaders in their food bank talking about what should be the anti-hunger position against relaxed federal laws on pesticide. These are conversations that you would have never seen in the anti-hunger world 20 years ago. And they're happening now, and they're coming out of the Bay Area and the Bay Area's anti-hunger work. And when I said before in my opening comments that perhaps now more than ever, we're coming together as people in with a progressive vision of what our food system should look like and what justice looks like. It's happening at the Capitol too, where we meet. And if the environmental justice, if the animal justice, if the women's rights advocates, if they ask an anti-poverty advocate to stand with them, we do. We're convened on a regular basis. We come together and we stand strong together. We do not let others pit us against each other. You can't have a just food system that's just for the workers, that's just for the animals and the livestock and the earth and the sky and the air and ourselves who live near it, and that's also just for the people who are consuming the food. The entire food chain can be just, and in California, more and more, we're not letting people pit us against each other to say, well, this part can be just, but not this one. And that's what I think is beautiful. And the thing about the Trump era is it is an era. And perhaps we've already seen the beginning of the end of it, and we get to define what the next era is.